off by giving away a book to people before they even know what the heck I'm going to be talking about. I will also be selling these at my cost. O'Reilly doesn't give them to us poor authors for free. So I'm selling them for $20 over there, cash, or swipe your card or PayPal me money, whatever. And I'll even autograph it if you like. But I bought about 20 to sell. But this one is for you. So I decided how I would filter the winner down. First of all, raise your hand if you're left-handed like me. Okay, of the left-handers, I'm going to each give you one guess at the year I was born, and whoever guesses it first, that's it.
1953.
53, I'm younger.
68.
Older.
Gentlemen never guesses, the ladies.
Anybody else? What? Huh? I can't even hear it. Does anyone want to take a guess? Left-handed?
75.
63.
Higher.
It wasn't yesterday.
65.
I'm 49, all right? I'm pushing 50. So I think, can someone guess it now? It's on Wikipedia. 66, who said that? There you go. You're talking out of left-handed. I will never use that as a system again, but congratulations. It makes me look old and it doesn't work.
You're not from Silicon Valley, are you?
No, I was born in Hollywood, California, in what was called the Cedar Sinai Lebanon, and is now the famous Blue Building, Church of Scientology. If you're born there, you don't get to leave anymore. Sad but true. Okay, so thank you so much for having me. This is actually my first Innovate Pasadena coffee meetup. I have a really good excuse, and that's I'm not a morning person, so that's why I've never made it. But I have done lots of cross-campus events at their Santa Monica campus, and I can't say more than enough awesome things about their events and the community and how supportive they are and the owners, and just to encourage you to keep coming to these. And Innovate Pasadena is particularly exciting to me because I'm a South Pasadena resident.
Yep.
Yeah. And raising my son, he's going to the public schools, here, and absolutely love it. And another interesting thing is I spent the last year and a half hiding out in a Pasadena library. I tried writing my book at home, but I couldn't because laundry seemed even more fun than writing. So then I tried the public libraries to write because I needed a quiet place to go every single day where I was locked away. And the bathrooms were locked, or I was being attacked by the homeless people. I just couldn't really sit down and write. And then someone told me that the Caltech's Sherman Fairchild Library is open to the public from 9 in the morning till 5 p.m., 5 days a week. So for 9 months, 5 days a week, I went there every day from 10 till 2, and I ate lunch there and in this beautiful library not very far from here, and it was like a sanctuary. And to be surrounded by all these incredibly smart people who were doing things so much harder than what I was doing kept me really motivated. Because I was writing a book about something that's pretty complicated. It's an emerging field, even though I've been practicing it for a while. It's called UX strategy. I'm a UX strategist, although I've been doing software design for 25 years or so, and it's evolved in terms of what they called it, from interface design to information architecture, interaction design, UX design, and now we have this thing that I'm branding called UX strategy, and I'm going to explain that to you in the next 25 minutes. What that is and why that pertains to what I believe is an audience full of potential entrepreneurs or current startup founders, business owners, and designers as well. The book is targeted at two audiences: user experience designers who are tired of being told what to do and not know why the heck they're making product. So it's teaching them to be more business savvy and understand how to get in front of the customers. And then it's also targeted at entrepreneurs and intrapreneurs, but mostly it's full of stories about startups that I worked with and business cases of startups that became very successful, and trying to be not just looking back at how they did it, but being prescriptive about how you can do it. And it was written also to be a course textbook. I've been teaching for 20 years. I started at NYU, where I got my master's degree back in '93. I started teaching there. And then once I moved back to Cali, I've been teaching all over LA, but I taught at Extension for a long time, UX design, and then got sick of that and decided I wanted to teach UX strategy because it just was more interesting to push people beyond just the concept of drawing boxes. So now what's weird at USC is I'm in the Viterbi School of Engineering. So instead of teaching to designer, pixel pusher, wannabe UX people who are architects and think information architecture is related or whatever these people came to take this class, now I have graduate level international students who are engineers who are breaking, I think, an old fallacy developed probably 15, 20 years ago that engineers aren't actually interested in the interface design. They just want to be left alone and told what to do. Now I have 2 more classes of students, predominantly from China and India, who are like, no, I want to be an entrepreneur, and no, I'm sick of not knowing, what the UX people are telling me to do. I want to be involved. I do care about the user, and so it's a real switch for me, and I'm really excited to be in such a different environment, and it's open to students all over the campus. What sucks about USC is the classes cost a lot of money, so I'll be doing workshops later on in the fall that people can pay for with less than $10,000. So I'm sure everyone has heard what user experience is. It's one of the biggest buzzwords because it ultimately defines a successful digital product in the marketplace. Basically, it's this thing that can be explained with words like, oh, when you have a product that's easy to use, or it's frictionless, or it's addictive, or it can be explained using these diagrams. This is the typical thing that you see where people make lots of Venn diagrams with lots of circles inside them, and they typically, are a combination of things: soft skills, hard skills. You could say interaction design plus human, HCI plus user research plus, all these different things, because ultimately when we're building products, we have to be aware of so many different things and the user experience is way beyond the interface. And so a lot of people think it's actually this sort of easy thing that you can just go up to a whiteboard and just start drawing boxes. Like, oh, I think I'm going to put this button here, and then, they'll click here and go there. And this is sort of what the environment is, whether you're at an agency or startup or consulting on your own. You're working hopefully collaboratively, but typically you start an ideation, you're sketching out what the experience is for the user/customer that's coming through your product. And people get UX design jobs, and they pretty much just sit behind a computer and knock out lots of boxes all day long for months and months and months. This is what I did for about 8 years to pay off half my house. And this was for an Oprah Redesign about 7 or 8 years ago. I led a team of about 3 people. We had to redesign Oprah.com. And it was an interesting experience in that the entire time we were working together, we never met Oprah customers. I'd seen the show, but I didn't actually, they had a large user base, but the demographic profiles that they gave to us were like, oh, we have customers who are black and brown and white, and the whole time I was figuring out, like, do they use computers differently? Like, how is this going to really inform the product design? And we just didn't really have that much insight into, if any, even though we work a little bit on the discovery phase, into what should this product do so that the business makes money, and what should the product do so that the customers really, really love the redesign. Why are we just redesigning a bunch of templates to make it more dynamic? And so it was frustrating, obviously, because we were blind to why the heck we were building this thing. And I unfortunately, in software design, a lot of redesigns or a lot of, the first time people make products, you'll find environments where people, the designers, the design team, engineers, and even the founders are not totally familiar with their customers and who they're making their product for. They may not even understand, sadly, the problem that they're trying to solve. They maybe got funded or not, and they just want to make something. So I personally wanted to move more into strategy. And so I worked at Huge for a while, and that's a really cool interactive agency that's here in New York and around the world. But it was there that I got to do the strategy for ABC Network, a big television network that will probably be out of business in a few years. And you too. And but I got to meet lots of stakeholders and hear their perspective on why they wanted to redesign their website and how it could make money and who they thought their TV audience was and who they thought their competitors were and what the different possible ways that we can make the television shows more interesting. And that went on for about 6 weeks, and we delivered a UX strategy brief. And it was that was when I pretty much decided that was all I really wanted to do, which was focus on UX strategy, to just be focused, not sitting around drawing boxes, making product, but to be working with the business owners and trying to figure out why the heck we're making this product and how it would make money. So I also had a young child and I hate the freeways, so all three of those were great reasons to quit my day job and work from home and start a business. And it's called JLR Interactive, and clients are typically everybody from startups to enterprise, but any client that works with me has to work with me following some of the ground rules that I've set out, because I no longer want to build products that nobody wants. I want to stay true to what I've done for the last 20 years, which is to make innovative products, ones that don't exist in other places, that push technology forward or make things more available to people so that they can do things that they were unable to do before. So in short, user experience strategy lies at the intersection of UX design and business strategy. I made this little animation in Keynote. In long, UX strategy is a plan of action, and you can read through all these bullets, or if you're really interested, you can buy the book or read more about it online. But I'm going to explain to you pretty much why I shifted away from just this idea of working in a silo, doing discovery phases, working with stakeholders, kind of the whole traditional design thinking model where we're over here and baking solutions and then coming out at the very end and saying, ta-da, here's our thing. Something happened along the way, and it was this dude. I read his book, The Lean Startup, Eric Ries, and it pretty much changed my life. Eric Ries's book is, he put forth an idea. It wasn't the first person to really, it came from out of lean manufacturing and Toyota, but it's this concept of building things in a more incremental way. I know a lot of us are familiar with Agile, and I'm not talking about waterfall versus Agile in the sense of software development. I'm talking about Agile in the sense of strategy, in the sense of coming up with an idea of a product and potentially being open to the idea that you're going to first start with a little idea, build the smallest piece of it that you can, otherwise known as the minimum viable product, figure out a way to test it as fast as possible, and that is an experiment, and that you're going to measure the results using real data, not opinions, and that you're going to learn from that, and then you're going to improve upon that idea, whether you pivot away into a different direction or throw it away, but that it's moving away from this idea of just like building something by yourself and instead releasing things in smaller parts to get them in front of the customer and learn from them as quickly as possible. And I've learned from other people seeing my presentations who have brick and mortar companies that this actually applies not just to digital products. A woman I know who owns a hair salon told me how she scaled her business up, starting from working in her house and just doing certain types of hairdos, and all the way to now having a very successful salon. And it's that same sort of model. So back to software though. When I was writing the book, I wanted to write all my case studies about startups. Obviously, I couldn't write about my agency work or my enterprise work because of NDAs, and also because a lot of it was boring, and because agency work, they don't really care about doing experiments. They want to, it's client services. They typically want to, get paid. We're going to make the deliverables and sell them, and that's understandable. That's their business model. But with the lean startup, it's really applicable for not just startups. Eric himself has pivoted to enterprise, and it's really just a mindset that's shifting, where instead of trying to build something really large, and I'm sorry this is so watered down on this presentation board here, but you can see like lots of templates on this side that shows the sitemap of a startup before lean, and on the right side it's after lean. This one has a little bit more resolution. But basically, it's a full-blown wireframe of a homepage that has 16 features for discovering items that you could trade. It was a trading concept, trading goods and services, to us a year later after embracing the lean startup methodology and saying, okay, we're going to just release trade with 1 trade a day and then several trades a week, and scale from there and learn and get in front of our customers and measure and try to figure out business models as we went along, instead of waiting what would have been a year before we had an algorithm that actually worked to do all the matching that was required to do a platform that involves trading. So I came up with my own framework, my own diagram of circles, but instead of it being a Venn diagram, I decided, because I'm a foodie, I would make it a dinner table, my reclaimed wood dinner table with 4 lovely modern plates on it. And these are what I call the 4 tenets of UX strategy. And if you're trying to do an innovative product, these are the 4 things that you need to do, and I spelled them out in depth in the book, all the different techniques so that you can get at them and figure out like what's the best business strategy, how can we do value innovation, what is validated research and how can we do it, and then what is really killer UX. Because if we're not creating something that's just like knock it out of the park UX, then it's not going to be an innovative product. I'll get into that in a second. Another important thing to remember is that a UX strategist or an entrepreneur needs to know how to spin those plates. It's not like you do first this thing and then we'll do a little user research and then we'll do a little design. You're constantly, just like the build, measure, learn, you're working on all of these things at once, trying to figure out how to devise a product that's really out there. So to step back, I'm going to walk you through a case study of, the UX strategy case study of an innovative product, applying my framework to what I saw, what we know is what became a very successful product. If we were to get in a time machine and go back to 2007, before this product existed, and we said, hey, I needed to find a sublet in Venice, we would go to the sublets and click into there and then type in Venice, and we might get this awesome page that told us that the apartment for rent was $39 and it's right on the beach, and we could learn about Chantanelli, that she has a phone number but no text please, and see pictures. And who knows, maybe I would go out there and rent her apartment and give her money, or maybe she's a man and maybe they would take the money and run. There was just like, no, it was a very shady sort of endeavor, subletting. Not just from my side as someone who might want to rent a room on the beach, but from Sean Kelly's side as well, because she didn't know who I was, and so we had to do the transactions by cash. But that's what subletting, that was our platform for subletting. That was our alternative back then. And then along comes this really wonderful site called Airbnb. And this one's quite different. You type in the word Venice, you pick the dates that you want to go. I'm sure most of you have used this by now for traveling. And then you're presented with beautiful results where you can filter the results, killer UX, see, I want to be right on the beach, I want my own apartment, see listings, see other friends of yours who might have stayed at that apartment, and get way more in depth in terms of what is this apartment you could be subletting. So all of a sudden the trust factor starts moving up. You get to see photos of the entire apartment. You get to see the people renting it, and that's really the most important thing. It's the profiles. That's the key experience. So I could read about gay and male, and these people were in San Francisco. I was up there for the launch conference, and they wanted to rent it out for fun, and they could read about me and see that I was a kind of normal person, and the transaction went through their platform. It was seamless, it was frictionless, and from that point on, I never stayed at a hotel again, for pleasure travel, for business sometimes I still do. And at the same time, I also rent my home out on Airbnb, or I did while I was a starving author. The business strategy of Airbnb, it was a wide open market where there's just like these other sites like Craigslist, and or you could go to a hotel, which was more expensive, or you could go and use VRBO at the time. But the options were slim. There was really nothing that fulfilled that entire experience that I just showed you. And the value innovation, not only from the customer perspective, but from the person renting it. We have a two-sided market, the host and the guest. You could see I made $12,000 in the first quarter of this year while I was finishing my book, renting out my home and staying with family. And that's a huge, huge leap in value. All of a sudden, customers people like us can have another revenue stream for making money, and these are the types of products I really like, where the sharing economy is being leveraged. Another important point is that in terms of validated user research, these guys were the one. They started, the original idea literally was like that you could have a raft in one of the founders' apartments, and you saw what that was like. Then they rented some hotels at South by Southwest to see what would go wrong, what would go right. It was an experiment, one after another. And then they rented a bunch of houses during I think it was the 2008 Democratic Convention, for Obama, and there was very few places that people could stay, and so they did it full on online. And from that point, they saw this could really work as a product, and Airbnb then launched in San Francisco, and now we know it to be a very successful product. And why it's so successful is it's frictionless. Not saying things don't go wrong, people are crazy, stuff happens, but ultimately they created a lot of value for the customers, which ultimately created a lot of value for the shareholders. And so obviously, I think when you're looking at this, we're seeing the UX design is a really important component, but there's so many more aspects to a business to truly make it successful and push it out into a new market. So just going quickly through the different tenants, because I know I'm short on time, and trust me, these are I have 15 hours of lecture, and I'm trying to just give you a primer, so I apologize that I'm going really fast. But just quickly, how I put together the framework was focusing on, traditional what was business strategy, thinking about Michael Porter. He was the one, Harvard professor, put forth the concept that there's two different kinds of how we, win as business. We either have lower costs or we have differentiation. So, for example, Walmart, they lead with lower cost, as far as a brick and mortar store, you're going to go in there and get good pricing, also get hand-picked merchandise. They have many other things now, but it's a very different experience than, let's say, going into, a bunch of different stores or the old Main Street. It's focused in a different way. Starbucks is our perfect example of differentiation. We could go and buy a $1 cup of coffee at McDonald's, or we could spend $5 on a matcha chocolate waka at Starbucks and have the wonderful, soothing experience of walking into their store and having the KCRW mushy-mashy music blasted at you, and having the barista go and the smell of the beans, and having them call your name. I was giving them a fake name, that's weird. And then getting my little coffee tina for $5 and having it, to the slip, the beautiful brown slip that you throw. That entire end-to-end experience is simulated so that we can have this amazing experience with their product, and that's their value proposition. So I'm going to blast through some of these just to get us through them. But when we're trying to figure out our competitors, we need to understand both direct competitors and indirect competitors. And so I created a toolkit that is for free. I'll give you the URL in a few minutes. That you can download. So if you're starting a business, and it has all the different factors that you need to look at. So first you come up with the list, and then you come up with different ways to look at them, the purpose of the site, and all the different factors, whether it be features or monthly traffic. And at the very end, you're trying to say, well, what are the factors that are important and relevant to me? The reason we want to be not just like sit in our bubble, we want to look outside and know what's going on out there, because if we don't want to be like the mythical ostriches with their head in their sand. We want to know that we're doing something that's innovative and different, and so by looking at all the competition, we can learn and we can pick from the best ones. And value innovation, that's extremely important. It takes Michael Porter to the next level with the book Blue Ocean Strategies, this idea that you want to create an uncontested market. It's called a blue ocean as opposed to a red ocean, which is filled with sharks attacking each other for the lowest prices. We want to move into an uncontested market space and do something truly different, like Ford Model T did back in 1908, where he invented one model car, and that it would be one price, and that he would have an assembly line, very lean, so that all of a sudden, not just rich people could drive cars, and he changed the way that people lived. There's other examples of major companies that did blue ocean strategy that pushed them to the next level, but ultimately, it's where we're bringing the cost of an experience down and the value for the buyer up. And that's the value innovation that we need to have in any kind of business, but especially if we're trying to create one that's a disruptive business, one that really changes the way that people do things. These are examples of companies that have totally disrupted other industries. So I'm gonna have like 2 minutes left, so I'm gonna jam through. Validated user research is basically throwing away some of the old school, I'm going to go out and do traditional ethnography and study my audience and have empathy for them and write down a bunch of notes. Instead, we're going to look at our product as an experiment, and we're going to get in front of them and do problem solution interviews and validate if they even are experiencing the problem, and even if they're the correct customer. We're going to use actionable metrics to find out that they're right. We're going to create prototypes that are quick and dirty or quick and pretty, and we're going to put these prototypes and try to get signal from our customers that yes, they like them. These were different prototypes that we just made in Photoshop of mock-ups for startups. This one was for a startup that I talk about in the book, where the stakeholder was just there taking notes. The man being interviewed didn't know he was a stakeholder. He thought he was a note taker, but by the end of a day of interviews, a stakeholder who did not want to shift his business model on his product finally threw his hands up in the air and started listening to me that if he just kept proceeding with the redesign, that he still wouldn't get customers to his website. Finally, killer UX design, and we all know what killer UX design is when we see it. My favorite examples that really have changed the world include Waze and Uber and Tinder. I know, it's a hookup site, but the swiping binary decision making is being stolen by every single student of mine I've ever met. Even Eventbrite's really important. And so there's lots of different techniques for figuring out how to leverage value innovation that I can't go into now. But I want there to be time for questions from you, and just I'm going to go forward 2 more slides and come back to questions. But just so you know, if you're interested, there's a website called userexperiencestrategy.com, and if you go there, you will see that there's a free toolkit. You don't need the book. You just click and download the toolkit. Inside the toolkit is basically 4 spreadsheets that can help you do competitive analysis and research, and how to set up validate user research studies, and how to do funnel optimization as well. And if you don't get the book here for $20, you're welcome to also get it on O'Reilly's site that discounts AUTHD. So with that, I should put up the slide. Did I make it?
Yes.
Absolutely. That is a really great presentation. I love the humor. That was really good. We got a little bit of a late start today. We usually go maybe 4 or 5 questions, but today we're gonna have to limit it to about 2. But definitely, if you have a good question about her presentation or her background in UX strategy and design, please raise your hand. We'll have a microphone floating around with John. But keep it limited to questions and not comments. If you have a story you'd like to share or a comment, you can take it offline. She'll definitely be here for a little while. Do you have time to meet people?
I'm going to hang out, try to sell books, and also meet people. Great. So
there you go. So just take it offline. Questions right now. All right. Raise your hand.
Not here.
So as far as designing new products, testing for me has always been a huge part of it, and it's, in the book, do you outline a lot more about, because there are lots of ways you can do it. You can do as much as like invite somebody to Starbucks and talk to them, to much broader kinds of polling and invitations to have people run through the site and give you what you think. Do you delve into that a lot? Because to me, that's the hardest, but the most important part. If you test early and well, you can save yourself a lot of headaches in terms of not designing or trying to create features that nobody ends up wanting anyway.
right.
So is that a big part of your book? Or?
Yeah, I would say so, but I focus far more on testing the value proposition. You know, usability testing, it's kind of a joke at this point. Usability testing assumes that you already figured out your product and you have all your features, and it's typically around, oh, are they able to use these filters in this way? And I'm able to pretty much just make pretty wireframes and show them to customers if it's an existing site over Skype with the stakeholders online, and we don't need to make any kind of robust interactive Azure prototype. I think that's where you go into heavy costs. I believe that the testing should be focused around will they use this product, are these features important, and then getting to a page at the very end, and this is what I hammer on in the book, is when it shows them, okay, would you pay, for example, Airbnb for weddings, would you pay $6,000 and have it in a private venue and have the food be Zanku chicken and have all these things, right? And really have them see the end-to-end experience to get them, and that's what I call a solution prototype, to buy in. I don't do this kind of testing, traditional testing that you do after design behind the one-way mirrors where we'd have them clicking on screens and telling us if it works or not. You know, after 20 years, Jesus, you know, do we not know how the web works? Let's use best practices, use standard forms and all of these things, and focus really on trying to cut out the fat and have as few features as possible, and make sure it's fine-tuned. Does that help? Another one?
Next question.
So, in 5 or 10 years, as you look out on your students at USC, do you see us still interacting the same way, or do you think other means of interacting are going to show up?
Who's us?
Us old people, I guess. All the young people in Silicon Valley, so all us old people. No, I just mean users in general.
So you're talking about the customers of the product
Yes.
interacting in the same
Yes.
way? So, well, no. I mean, products are definitely changing. I mean, my son, what he's capable of doing with his iPad and YouTube channels is incredible. You know, plus, you know, the buzzword of Internet of Things and connected devices, you know, that's going to change. We're going to see screens slowly go away and hopefully more voice controlled. You know, why I still have remote controls to turn on the TV, and I can't just say, you know, play transparent now, volume up. You know, there's so many things that are still that are going to evolve. You know, driverless cars. You know, so I think user experience, the field, the craft of pushing innovative products is going to be around for a long time because, you know, digital is here to stay. So I'm pretty optimistic. But what it takes to do this stuff, I mean, you just got to keep on top of it. I mean, for me, you know, as old as I get, and I'm getting old too, you know, I can't figure out how to stop that. You always have to be using the latest software and understand, you know, what's Twitter doing, what's the value of all these products. If you're going to work in this environment, because it's like the fastest moving target of almost any industry I can think of, software design.
Just a real quick question. You mentioned that you might do some workshops. Is that still just an idea, or is that something already in the works?
We're for sure. I'm going to do some. We've had a lot of requests, and I am going on tour. So I'm hitting Israel next week, and then Croatia and Budapest and Brazil, and bouncing back and forth to USC. But what I'm trying to do in October is land a workshop that's a full-day workshop. Probably at OPODs in downtown LA. I have a good relationship with them, and maybe one on the west side as well. But the price point will be around $300 to $350 for an 8-hour workshop where you will sit with others and we will work through all these techniques. So if you come in there with a product concept or you don't, I can teach them, you know, in a classroom environment so that you can, you know, practice them in your own work environment. So if you want to know about those, connect with me on LinkedIn or follow me on Twitter because it'll always be announced on that, or download the toolkit because we'll be broadcasting all the workshops out like that, and I would love to have you and learn from you as well.
Excellent. Thank you so much again, Jamie. Give her a warm round of applause for sharing your wisdom and experience